Part 1. In Chapter 1, Nicole Wargin, former astronaut and current First Lady of Kansas, attends a political fundraiser with her husband, Governor Kenneth Wargin. As riots erupt outside, a fiery explosion shatters the ballroom windows and security rushes the couple to safety. The unrest stems from growing food shortages and political tension following the meteor, which devastated Earth years earlier. Kenneth insists on staying in Kansas City to manage the crisis and prepare for a press conference, while Nicole plans to return to her training duties at the International Aerospace Coalition. During the drive, he reveals growing political pressure to distance himself from her work with the space program, fearing accusations of nepotism. Nicole masks her frustration, outwardly agreeing to step back while inwardly feeling the weight of being silenced once again. As sirens echo through the night, she realizes how tenuous both their marriage and humanity's stability have become. In Chapter 2, Nicole and Kenneth Wargin stay with their friends Myrtle and Eugene Lindholm as Kansas City reels from riots sparked by the Earth First movement. Over breakfast, they discuss the unrest and the growing divide between those on Earth and those working in space. Their conversation is interrupted when the sound of a rocket launch turns to an explosion. Sirius IV has failed shortly after liftoff. Nicole and Eugene rush outside, fearing for the crew's fate. After agonizing moments of waiting, parachutes appear through the clouds, signaling that the astronauts have survived. Myrtle and Kenneth give thanks, while Nicole silently credits training and engineering over divine intervention. Though shaken, she helps Kenneth prepare for the day's political fallout, aware that the accident and the riots will fuel public doubt about the space program. For Nicole, it's another reminder of how fragile progress and survival remain on Earth. In Chapter 3, Nicole attends a press conference following the Sirius IV rocket explosion. At the Capitol, she observes President Denley and IAC Director Clemens manage public fallout while her husband, Governor Kenneth Wargin, prepares political responses. Nicole offers to assist the IAC as a public spokesperson, but is dismissed as old hat, revealing growing sexism and age bias in the program. She reconnects with fellow astronaut Cristiano Zambrano, who confirms that the crew survived the abort and that she's next in line for a launch, news that unsettles Kenneth. During the press briefing, Clemens denies sabotage, though Nicole doubts his confidence, and reporters press about safety, relocation, and racial tensions following the Cygnus 6 incident. Kenneth skillfully redirects questions to protect the space industry's political value. Publicly supportive, but privately frustrated, Nicole resolves to reclaim her place in space despite being quietly written off by the men controlling the program. In Chapter 4, Nicole rushes from the Capitol to the International Aerospace Coalition to teach a Pogo zero-gravity training session. Still shaken from the morning's rocket accident and rumors of schedule changes, she learns from Chief Astronaut Halim Malouf that the Sirius IV crew survived but suffered injuries. He hints that Director Clemens wants to speak with her privately, possibly about new assignments following the crash. During training, Halim addresses the rookie colonists, reassuring them that their upcoming Cygnus-class mission remains safe. Nicole then demonstrates the lunar gravity simulator, emphasizing precision and control. But mid-demo, the Pogo's hydraulic line fails, slamming her to the floor and splitting her chin open. Kurt Fry and Halim rush to help as blood soaks her shirt. Though injured and embarrassed, Nicole brushes it off, joking about her modeling career while privately worrying what Clemens' summons and the failed equipment might mean for her future in the program. In Chapter 5, Nicole ignores the flight surgeon's advice to rest after her training accident and reports to Director Clemens' office, where he reassigns her from astronaut duty to secretarial staff. In a closed-door meeting with Clemens and Chief Astronaut Halim Malouf, she is briefed on Icarus, a classified operation investigating suspected sabotage of IAC rockets. The FBI believes Earth First extremists infiltrated the agency and may have caused the Sirius IV explosion. Nicole is tasked with transferring to the moon as secretary to the Lunar Colony Administrator, secretly delivering sensitive information because communications may be compromised. That evening, she joins her husband Kenneth and ISC engineers Nathaniel York and Reynard. During poker night, Nathaniel, exhausted and grief-stricken from the day's disaster, suddenly collapses, vomiting blood. Nicole takes control of the chaos, demanding a car to rush him to the hospital as panic and realization ripple through the room. In Chapter 6, Nicole and Kenneth wait anxiously in the hospital as Nathaniel York undergoes emergency surgery after collapsing at their home. Hours later, The surgeon informs them that Nathaniel's ulcer had perforated his stomach and that he had ingested thallium, a rat poison, likely within hours before arriving. The doctor suspects deliberate poisoning, but credits the ulcer's bleeding for saving Nathaniel's life by forcing him to vomit. Once Nathaniel awakens, he begs Nicole not to tell his wife Elma, who is en route to Mars, fearing she'll worry needlessly. Kenneth agrees to keep it secret despite Nicole's protests. Their argument intensifies as Kenneth defends his decision, revealing how powerless he feels whenever she's away on lunar missions. The discovery of sabotage has become personal, and Nicole is left torn between honesty and duty, forced to lie for the safety and peace of mind of those she cares about most. In Chapter 7, Nicole endures a tense FBI interrogation following Nathaniel York's poisoning. Exhausted and guilt-ridden, she waits outside while Kenneth is questioned, reflecting on her eating struggles and their earlier argument. When the agents call her in, she confirms Nathaniel's poisoning likely occurred during the poker night at their apartment. Realizing she ate from the same sandwich tray, she deduces the thallium might have been in the food or drinks and fears Kenneth could have been the intended target. The FBI dismisses her concern, focusing instead on questioning her about the other astronauts' husbands. Furious at their indifference, Nicole rushes out to warn Kenneth, who is traveling unprotected by train to Topeka. After phoning his chief of staff to increase security, she accepts Halim's sudden offer to co-pilot a serious simulator test. Pushing through exhaustion and fear, she races to prepare, only to collapse from strain as the chapter ends. In Chapter 8, Nicole faints at the space vehicle mock-up facility after running there without eating or resting. Flight surgeon Anna Teresa intervenes, refusing to clear her for the serious simulator test, warning that if she collapsed again, it would be used to discredit all women astronauts. Frustrated, Nicole returns to her office, forces herself to eat, and takes a tranquilizer to calm down. She calls the hospital to check on Nathaniel York, who is recovering from surgery, and confirms he was poisoned with thallium but doesn't know how. He asks Nicole to retrieve a letter from his wife Elma's teletype messages and a copy of Just So Stories from his office. When Nicole goes to collect them, she finds the building sealed off by the FBI, who are investigating Nathaniel's poisoning. Blocked from entry, she leaves angry and suspicious, realizing the investigation into the sabotage has become far more personal. In Chapter 9, Nicole visits Nathaniel York in the hospital before her departure for Brazil. Though weak, he jokes with her and she confronts him about not eating, revealing her own history with disordered eating to make him understand the danger. She delivers Elma's teletype letter and discovers that Nathaniel and Elma have been secretly communicating through a coded system using Just So Stories. When she deciphers Elma's latest message, it includes both affectionate remarks and concerns about racial discrimination against black astronauts Florence and Leonard. Nicole agrees to send coded messages between Nathaniel and Elma while he recovers, on the condition that he lets Elma's brother, Herschel, come care for him, and that he maintains regular meals. Nathaniel reluctantly agrees. Before leaving, Nicole helps him write a coded response, hiding truths about the sabotage and his health, ensuring Elma remains unaware of the growing danger on Earth. In Chapter 9, Nicole visits Nathaniel York in the hospital before her departure for Brazil. Though weak, he jokes with her and she confronts him about not eating, revealing her own history with disordered eating to make him understand the danger. She delivers Elma's teletype letter and discovers that Nathaniel and Elma have been secretly communicating through a coded system using Just So Stories. When she deciphers Elma's latest message, it includes both affectionate remarks and concerns about racial discrimination against black astronauts Florence and Leonard. Nicole agrees to send coded messages between Nathaniel and Elma while he recovers, on the condition that he lets Elma's brother, Herschel, come care for him, and that he maintains regular meals. Nathaniel reluctantly agrees. Before leaving, Nicole helps him write a coded response, hiding truths about the sabotage and his health, ensuring Elma remains unaware of the growing danger on Earth. In Chapter 11, Nicole attends church with Kenneth, enduring small-town gossip about her injury while sensing deep tension in their marriage. Afterward, they argue gently about their busy schedules but maintain a public facade of harmony. Later, Nicole meets fellow female pilots, Myrtle, Helen, and others, for flight training. She hints at the FBI investigation into Nathaniel York's poisoning, but withholds classified details about the Icarus project. During the flight, she allows Myrtle to pilot the plane to prepare for her check ride. Midair, the engine suddenly fails multiple times, forcing Nicole to take control and execute an emergency landing in a cornfield. Despite the danger, they remain unharmed, and Nicole's calm professionalism prevents disaster. The near crash underscores the mounting pressure and risks surrounding the astronauts and foreshadows the escalating tension between secrecy, politics, and survival within the IAC program. In Chapter 12, Nicole returns home late to find Kenneth has prepared an apology dinner after learning her plane suffered an engine failure. During their meal, Kenneth confesses that he secretly monitors her flights and then reveals a far greater secret. He suffered a mild heart attack during her last mission to the moon, but concealed it to avoid jeopardizing his political career. Shocked, Nicole offers to withdraw from the upcoming lunar mission, but Kenneth insists she go, believing she'll be safer off Earth after discovering her plane's fuel had been sabotaged with engine oil. They both realize the sabotage and Nathaniel York's poisoning may be part of a coordinated attack targeting female astronauts, the astronets. Despite fear and anger, Nicole agrees to return to the moon under one condition. If Kenneth's heart condition worsens, he must contact her using a coded message. The flowers are blooming. Part 2. In Chapter 13, Nicole departs for Brazil to prepare for her lunar mission. The launch team has been reshuffled following the sabotage investigation, and tensions run high among the new crew. The night before launch, she calls Kenneth from the base at Barreira do Inferno. They exchange affection and coded words, confirming that his health remains stable and that she is still safe to go. Kenneth tells her Nathaniel York has recovered and hints at announcing his presidential run before she returns. Their call ends abruptly when sunlight breaks through the clouds, and Nicole joins her teammates to enjoy the rare brightness. The next day, after multiple scrubbed launches, the mission finally proceeds. Despite several technical delays and heightened nerves among the colonists, the rocket lifts off successfully. As the engines ignite and Earth falls away, Nicole feels a mix of relief, pride, and lingering fear over the dangers still hidden below. In Chapter 14, Nicole travels aboard the translunar shuttle toward the moon with a mixed crew of veterans and rookies. During the voyage, the team passes time in microgravity until a sudden emergency arises. Eugene, the mission's pilot, becomes violently ill. Anna Teresa suspects food poisoning, but Nicole fears another sabotage like Nathaniel York's poisoning. As Eugene weakens, Kurt Fry and Michael Lynn, both inexperienced pilots, are assigned to handle the lunar landing. Despite Kurt's composure, the descent quickly turns dangerous. A control failure forces manual operation, and the ship begins oscillating. With Helen assisting in navigation, they manage to stabilize and approach the surface, though fuel margins tighten. The shuttle lands hard, slamming against the moon's surface and triggering decompression alarms. As Nicole tries to calm the frightened crew, she realizes her cargo, Clemens's secret package, has vanished, moments before the ship begins to tilt and collapse sideways. In Chapter 15, the damaged lunar shuttle tilts dangerously after landing, its broken strut threatening to collapse the entire ship. Eugene, still weak from illness, takes command and uses the remaining thrusters to keep the vessel upright while organizing an emergency evacuation. The crew begins a rapid egress through the lower hatch, using a rappel line after the inflatable escape slide fails. Nicole, suffering a broken arm from the crash, insists on helping but must rappel one-handed down the ship's side. One by one, astronauts and colonists descend to the lunar surface as the propellant dwindles. Eugene remains behind to stabilize the ship until everyone is safe. Once the last of the crew reaches the ground, the thrusters cut out and the rocket finally tips and crashes onto its side. Nicole, Helen, and Myrtle watch helplessly as the ship settles into silence, Eugene still inside, his fate uncertain. In Chapter 16, Nicole recovers in Artemis Base's sickbay with a broken arm, while Eugene lies weak but alive after the crash. During their conversation, Eugene confides that the argon canister for the escape slide had been deliberately drained, confirming suspicions of sabotage. Nicole agrees that someone may be targeting the IAC, connecting the incident to Nathaniel York's poisoning. Despite Myrtle's reluctance to suspect anyone in their small lunar community, Nicole resolves to alert the lunar colony administrator, Frisch. When she meets him, she finds Kurt arguing over being grounded alongside the other pilots. Once alone, Nicole reports her findings about the repeated system failures and the Icarus sabotage theory, but Frisch dismisses her concerns, insisting there's no evidence of danger on the moon. Frustrated, Nicole sends a coded teletype message to Kenneth, hiding warnings about the sabotage and signaling that Icarus may already have reached the lunar colony. In Chapter 17, Easter morning dawns on the moon, and Nicole attends a church service with Myrtle and Helen, though her true purpose is observation. She quietly records everyone present searching for possible suspects behind the sabotage, including members of her own crew. During the service, a small mishap causes attention to fall on her, and afterward she discovers that the page listing her suspects has been torn from her notebook, stolen. Kurt appears helpful but suspiciously inquisitive, raising Nicole's doubts further. The following day, she resumes her temporary post as secretary to Administrator Frisch, still unable to type efficiently due to her broken arm. When the South African couple, Ruben and Danica Dupreez, visit to file a segregation complaint, Nicole begins to sense cultural and political tensions within the colony. Before she can process it, the power abruptly fails across Artemis Base. Lights flicker out, fans go silent, and the moon falls into sudden darkness. In Chapter 18, Nicole endures a 16-minute power outage at Artemis Base, using calm conversation to keep newcomers Ruben and Danica Dupreez from panicking. When power returns, she's unsettled by how much damage a saboteur could have done in that short window. Ahana appears, claiming she came to sign up for Nicole's bridge party, though her unexpected presence and dirt-covered nails make Nicole suspicious. Later, Nicole receives a letter from Kenneth, who updates her on Nathaniel's improving health and hints at an important upcoming political move. Still preoccupied by the sabotage, Nicole delivers a coded message from Clemens to Administrator Frisch instructing him to inspect the colony's explosive stockpiles. Realizing the potential threat, Frisch agrees they'll conduct the inventory personally. Nicole insists the mission can't wait, but Frisch delays until the 19th, prioritizing colony stability over urgency, leaving Nicole uneasy that Icarus may strike again before they act. In Chapter 19, Nicole waits in the communications module for her weekly call to Kenneth, still uneasy after the unexplained 16-minute power outage. She chats briefly with Wafia, a young botanist, and then with Faustino, who is temporarily manning comms. When she finally connects with Kenneth, he confirms his health and subtly informs her that political pressure is forcing him to announce his presidential campaign. Their conversation shifts into code, referencing the long tomorrow as a cover for a future secret communication. After the call, Nicole investigates missing crew member Caden Murphy, only to learn he's become violently ill with symptoms identical to Eugene's earlier poisoning. Concerned that the sabotage has reached the colony's food supply, she questions Helen, who begins to suspect Nicole is hiding classified information. Their talk turns emotional when Nicole silently reveals Kenneth's heart attack, and Helen comforts her as the danger and secrets around them deepen. In Chapter 20, Kenneth officially announces his presidential candidacy, prompting a press interview with Nicole on the moon. She gives a diplomatic response promising to return to Earth if needed. Meanwhile, Nicole prepares to accompany Administrator Frisch on an inspection flight to the lunar mining outposts. However, suit technician Florina Morales refuses to let her fly due to her arm cast, which violates safety regulations. Frisch reluctantly agrees to delay the mission unless another pilot can be found. Nicole recruits Myrtle Lindholm despite Eugene's objections, and Myrtle reluctantly accepts. Before departure, Nicole walks in on Frisch meeting with Dr. Anna Teresa Brandau, who reveals that a dangerous illness spreading through the colony isn't food poisoning but likely polio. The live Sabin vaccine brought by recent arrivals may have caused infection among unvaccinated colonists. Frisch realizes he may be a carrier and cancels the trip, leaving the colony under growing medical threat. In Chapter 21, Nicole accompanies Administrator Frisch to the communications booth to contact Director Clemens on Earth. Frisch reports a possible polio outbreak on the moon, with 5 confirmed cases and 3 more suspected. Clemens agrees to send medical supplies and authorizes Nicole to oversee the explosives inventory herself. During the call, Nicole detects the same spring sound she'd heard during her last conversation with Kenneth, proof that Icarus is listening in. Afterward, Nicole briefs the Lindholms, but before they can leave, they find Kurt collapsed in a corridor, paralyzed from polio. In sickbay, several of Nicole's earlier suspects, including Kurt, Caden, and Imelda, lie gravely ill, confirming the outbreak. Dr. Anna Teresa Brandau orders a full quarantine as airlocks close across the base. While chaos spreads, Nicole goes to retrieve Kenneth's coded message from the long tomorrow in the library, only to discover the book missing and checked out under a forged signature. In Chapter 22, Nicole assumes command of the quarantined Midtown Dome after the airlock seal. She organizes roll call and sleeping arrangements while maintaining calm among 37 anxious colonists. Frisch contacts her through intercom, confirming more cases of illness and that the Lindholm's outpost mission is proceeding normally. Later, Nicole reads a new coded letter from Kenneth, disguised as an update about social events and household expenses, which hides a 6-word message tied to the long tomorrow. She confides in Helen, who helps analyze handwriting samples to determine who forged Vicky Shu's name when checking out the missing book. The forged signature appears to match one of the infected, Kurt or Imelda, deepening Nicole's suspicions that Icarus may be using the outbreak as cover. Just as Nicole and Helen plan their next move, the base's lights suddenly fail again, cutting power to the entire colony and plunging Midtown into darkness. In Chapter 23, the Moon Colony suffers another sudden power outage, plunging Midtown into darkness for 16 minutes. Nicole arms herself with a pistol grip tool and investigates the source, suspecting sabotage. She checks the old power control systems and encounters Luther and then Ahana, whose unexpected presence raises suspicion. When power returns, Nicole notes that the outages always last exactly 16 minutes, confirming a deliberate pattern. The next day, during quarantine, she hosts a bridge game to collect handwriting samples from suspects. Danica, one of the players, begins showing early symptoms of polio, a stiff neck and fatigue, prompting Nicole to isolate her immediately. As fear spreads through the quarantine dome, conversations turn to conspiracy theories about the IAC's failures, the rocket explosion, and whether the outbreak was caused by radiation or sabotage. Nicole realizes the epidemic is escalating, with the colony gravely unprepared for the number of expected cases. In Chapter 24, the lunar polio epidemic worsens as 19 confirmed cases force a complete quarantine of Artemis Base, halting all traffic to and from the moon. Nicole manages maintenance in Midtown, performing suit sanitation alongside Helen, while unvaccinated colonists work only in sealed spacesuits. During repairs, Helen questions Nicole about Eugene and Myrtle's mission and reveals that the Garden outpost recorded a seismic event, possibly an explosion, during the last blackout, suggesting sabotage timed with the power loss. Before Nicole can investigate further, Faustino summons her to Administrator Frisch's office. Exhausted and irritable, Frisch accuses Nicole of sending unauthorized coded messages to the first Mars expedition using Nathaniel York's passkey, leaked to the press as evidence of conspiracy. Despite her protest that they are being manipulated, Frisch follows Clemens's orders. Nicole is suspended without pay, confined to quarters, and stripped of duty, just as the moon's crisis reaches its peak. In Chapter 25, Nicole is confined to the science module, now serving as an isolation ward for polio patients. She assists Dr. Anna Teresa with physical therapy, tending to recovering victims like Guillermo and Caden. While taking a mandated exercise break in the centrifuge room, Nicole encounters Myrtle, Eugene, and Helen, who have returned from their outpost mission. They report that though the blasting supplies were intact, other chemical components, fertilizers, and oxidizers were missing, and a bottle of perchloric acid had vanished from the main lab, confirming Icarus may be building explosives. Eugene also found a damaged controller and a Swiss Army knife engraved with an F, while Helen discovered the long tomorrow hidden in Frisch's office containing Kenneth's coded message, "Poison at home, government investigating me." Suspicion turns toward Frisch, but Nicole suspects he's being framed. When alone, Eugene presses her about her secret war training, implying she might be an undercover agent. In Chapter 26, the polio quarantine continues on the moon. Nicole supervises sickbay operations while managing her own physical limitations due to her caste, assisting patients with therapy and spacesuit maintenance. She organizes staff rotations, ensures adherence to hygiene protocols, and monitors for potential infection vectors, such as candy Easter eggs brought by Kurt, but Dr. Anna Teresa confirms polio cannot survive food processing. Nicole jogs in the centrifuge room with Myrtle, Eugene, and Helen while discussing Icarus's sabotage attempts, assessing who could have caused previous incidents and evaluating possible motives. Eugene and Myrtle report no new anomalies in the blasting supplies at the outposts. Nicole later coaxes Anna Teresa into a break, bringing her to the science module lounge to rest, eat, and take in the moon's landscape. They discuss polio safety, the isolation of patients, and the ongoing monitoring of contaminated vectors while reflecting on the strain of the outbreak. In Chapter 27, Nicole continues her duties in the Lunar Science module during the polio quarantine, assisting patients with physical therapy while ensuring hygiene and safety protocols are followed. She works with Dr. Ana Teresa to prepare bandages and manage care for recovering patients. During therapy, Nicole confirms to Guillermo and Kurt that the coded messages she sent were official and part of her instructions from Clemens, not personal communication. She discusses the ongoing investigation into Icarus with Eugene, Myrtle, and Helen, reviewing sabotage at the Busy Bee and the inventory of explosive materials at outposts. They deduce that Kurt, sick with polio, is likely the operative Icarus or involved in the sabotage, given his access and timing. Kurt also reports potential issues with a CO2 scrubber filter, raising safety concerns. Nicole plans to follow up with the Lindholms or Helen to verify his observations and assess whether the anomaly is significant or a false lead. In Chapter 28, Nicole continues her investigation and duties during the lunar polio quarantine. She confirms the CO2 scrubbers are functional and no sabotage has occurred at the garden or on the Busy Bee. Using the lounge windows, she counts 4 of 8 Busy Bees docked, noting visibility limitations and potential blind spots that could be exploited by a pilot to avoid LGC observation. Nicole and her team review duty rosters and notice Faustino has no assignments, raising suspicion because he has a spacesuit in need of servicing. While on break, she observes Frisch, who appears ill, possibly from poisoning or another cause, and plans to help him with administrative duties for the upcoming relief ship. Later, Nicole discovers severe condensation and leaking water in sickbay due to failed dehumidifiers, endangering supplies and patients. She assists Birgit first and contacts operations to address the environmental control failure, but during this, a station-wide blackout occurs, plunging the colony into darkness. In Chapter 29, Nicole deals with the aftermath of being electrocuted in the science module during the lunar polio quarantine. She wakes to find the module dark and water dripping due to failed environmental controls. Assessing the room, she confirms that Birgit, Imelda, Garnet, and Wafia are unharmed and retrieves battery-powered lights to illuminate the area. Nicole organizes the team to address water hazards while leaving the power issue to maintenance. She then meets with Ana Teresa, who angrily examines Nicole's arm, removing her damaged plaster cast and preparing to reset it. Ana Teresa confirms that Nathaniel's earlier poisoning with thallium can be treated with Prussian blue and plans to ensure supplies reach the moon. Nicole follows instructions to have her arm treated and numbed for resetting, while being reminded that her own health must take priority temporarily. The chapter focuses on emergency management, health recovery, and maintaining safety during the quarantine. In Chapter 30, Nicole Wargin recovers from her electrocution caused by a malfunctioning dehumidification system in the lunar colony, which triggered the first rain on the moon and left the polio ward without power. Despite her injury, she participates in administrative duties with Eugene, Myrtle, and Helen to manage inventory and plan a strategy to flush out the Earth First operative, Icarus. They execute the Rhode Island Protocol, sending a coded, misleading message to confuse potential eavesdroppers and buy Clemens time on Earth. During the process, Nicole confirms that an operative among the polio patients is cooperating and provides intelligence about Frisch's potential ties to U.S. officials. Following the protocol, Nicole uses a secure phone booth to call her husband, Governor Kenneth Wargin, updating him on her safety and the status of the colony while managing personal concern for her family and warded patients. The chapter emphasizes crisis management, espionage strategy, and maintaining personal connections under extreme conditions. In Chapter 31, Nicole is repairing a filter in Midtown when Eugene informs her there is a lead on Faustino, identifying Danica and Ruben Dupreez as contacts who may provide information. As she finishes her task, Myrtle arrives, visibly distraught, and reveals that Esteban Terrazas, one of the original Artemis astronauts, has died on the first Mars expedition. Nicole absorbs the news while observing the daily activity of the lunar colony, noting that most residents are unaware of Terrazas' death. She quickly moves to find Helen, who is playing chess with Kurt, to deliver the news privately. Helen is devastated upon learning of Terrazas' death, and Nicole consoles her while preparing for Eugene's official announcement to the colony. The chapter emphasizes the impact of Terrazas' death on the crew, the need for careful communication of sensitive information, and Nicole's role in supporting her colleagues emotionally while maintaining operational responsibilities on the Moon. In Chapter 32, Nicole coordinates with Eugene, Myrtle, and Helen to investigate Faustino's disappearance and potential sabotage aboard the Moon colony. They focus on crew members with names containing the letter F, including Birgit First, who works in comms and may have rigged the intercom, while recognizing that Kurt could have been involved in pre-flight tampering. They discuss how the Busy Bee incident and dehumidifier short could have been improvised attacks targeting specific individuals, particularly Nicole or polio patients like Birgit. Nicole prepares to contact Earth, balancing secrecy with the need for political and operational support. She calls her husband, Governor Kenneth Wargin, informing him that Esteban Terrazas' death was likely the result of deliberate sabotage by Earth First. Nicole briefs him on moon-based incidents, including the faulty thruster, the dehumidifier, and the electrical short that hit her. They plan coordinated communications to flush out suspects while keeping the colony's leadership informed and maintaining operational control. In Chapter 33, Nicole continues monitoring the Moon colony while managing the recovery of polio patients relocated to Midtown. She observes Ruben and Danica exercising, noting their progress and mobility challenges in 1/6 g gravity. Rabbits in the colony are used for observation of reproduction and protein potential. Nicole tracks crew behavior, including Faustino Albino Rios, who remains missing, and Kurt Fry, who has possession of a red Swiss Army knife. She speaks with Frisch to assess his status and gather intelligence on potential sabotage or poisoning, discussing sugar cubes and the possibility of prior contamination. Kurt confirms he had loaned the knife to Faustino. Nicole balances patient care with investigation, noting the effects of polio, prior rain day incidents, and the loss of Esteban Terrazas on the Mars expedition. The chapter concludes with Nicole responding to a news alert of shots fired at Governor Wargin on Earth, highlighting ongoing crises both on the Moon and on Earth. In Chapter 34, Nicole urgently attempts to reach her husband Kenneth after learning he was shot at the Capitol. She navigates the Moon colony to access a phone and contacts the operator on Luneta to place a long-distance call to Washington. After repeated attempts, she finally connects with Nathaniel York at Washington Memorial Hospital, confirming Kenneth is alive but critically injured. Nicole experiences intense anxiety and fear while waiting for updates aided by Eugene and Myrtle, who provide physical support and guidance. She coordinates communication with other personnel, including Paolo, to monitor Faustino's whereabouts and assess potential sabotage. Despite being shaken and refusing to eat initially, Nicole is persuaded by Myrtle to maintain her strength. Meanwhile, maintenance issues on the Moon, including a thruster cleanup delayed by the quarantine, continue to impede operations. The chapter ends with Nicole finally hearing Kenneth's voice, providing a momentary reprieve amid the chaos. Part 3. In Chapter 35, Nicole Wargin delivers a televised eulogy from the Moon for her assassinated husband, Governor Kenneth Wargin, accusing Earth First of sabotage and highlighting his efforts for human rights and space progress. She appears on a large screen at his funeral in Kansas City, maintaining composure with support from Eugene Lindholm, Myrtle, and Helen, despite brief moments of visible grief. After the broadcast, Nicole shifts focus to operational concerns, reviewing a folder detailing the lunar shuttle's thruster and hand controller, confirming minor debris caused intermittent issues but no major malfunction. Eugene reports that Faustino is alive, having improvised wooden skis to navigate the Moon's surface, while the location of a missing Busy Bee remains unknown. Kurt and Birgit are confined under observation for potential involvement. Nicole is urged to maintain activity and leadership on the Moon to set an example for grieving colonists, balancing her personal grief with the responsibility of managing the base and ongoing security concerns. In Chapter 36, Shane James Cox, a 20-year-old affiliated with the Earth First anti-space group, is charged with assassinating Governor Kenneth Wargin, confirming suspicions voiced by Nicole during her lunar broadcast. On the Moon, Nicole continues operational oversight despite grief, reviewing maps of Artemis Base, way stations, and Busy Bee routes to track missing or compromised equipment. She learns from Helen that the Busy Bee was removed on April 16th and considers personnel accountability, noting Kurt and Frisch as possible culprits due to incomplete record-keeping. Equipment losses include oxygen tanks, CO2 scrubbers, and radio units, raising concerns about sabotage. Halim Malouf reports limited success masking his movements on the lunar surface. Nicole, fatigued and emotionally strained, is urged by Myrtle to eat and maintain her strength. Overnight, she oversleeps and wakes to condensation threatening the habitat module. She coordinates with Helen and Ahana to move personnel safely to Midtown while avoiding electrical hazards, demonstrating leadership and responsibility under crisis conditions. In Chapter 37, a CO2 leak occurs in the lunar habitat, incapacitating Helen and endangering Nicole. Nicole navigates the spinning, low-gravity environment, retrieves emergency oxygen masks, and administers one to Helen, stabilizing her condition. They are assisted by Ahana and another crew member in evacuating to safety. Afterward, Nicole and Helen sit with ice packs, discussing the CO2 scrubber malfunction and concerns about Icarus potentially orchestrating module hazards. The colony's limited functional habitation modules, Admin, Midtown, and OpsMod, pose a risk if personnel are funneled into one area. Nicole strategizes about potential sabotage, considering Kurt, Birgit, and Faustino's roles in previous equipment disruptions. Eugene, Myrtle, and Halim provide oversight, and Nicole begins reviewing her contingency list to anticipate future threats. Nicole and the team reinforce safety protocols, secure the sickbay, and adapt the conference room with hammocks for temporary use. The chapter establishes the vulnerability of the lunar infrastructure and the ongoing threat of deliberate sabotage by unknown actors. In Chapter 38, Nicole continues recovering from her injuries and managing her anorexia while assisting in the investigation of Icarus's sabotage. Over the week, Eugene discovers Icarus had hidden perchloric acid in dehumidifiers, introduced sediment into fuel tanks, disabled smoke detectors, and emptied emergency oxygen masks, all intended to create failures. The team continues searching for the missing Busy Bee without success, considering possible locations and threats. Nicole discusses her struggles with Helen, acknowledging her anorexia and agreeing to maintain a food log while processing grief and stress. Once the Simod sickbay is repaired, Nicole undergoes an X-ray for her atrophied arm, discovering limited rotation and beginning physical therapy. She continues evaluating the base for vulnerabilities, analyzing technical manuals and power systems for sabotage points. Repeated power outages increase tension, raising concerns about potential traps. The chapter emphasizes ongoing sabotage threats, the importance of maintaining vigilance, and Nicole's dual focus on recovery and problem-solving within the lunar colony. In Chapter 39, leaked information suggests Governor Wargin was investigated for allegedly attempting to poison Dr. Nathaniel York, which York refutes, asserting so. It is a smear meant to damage Mrs. Wargin's reputation and distract from Earth-first sabotage. Nicole struggles with reading the lunar base manuals due to eye strain and fatigue, but persists in studying legacy systems to identify vulnerabilities. She visits sickbay for reading glasses and encounters Kurt, who has atrophied legs and new braces to support mobility. Nicole helps him into a wheelchair, navigating emergency lights and power concerns, while noting increasing frequency of blackouts. She collaborates with Eugene, Helen, and Myrtle to analyze power failures and potential sabotage, considering scenarios in which Kurt may be Icarus or innocent. Helen traces satellite signals affecting the colony's power, confirming a single base is transmitting commands. Nicole recalls early lunar base designs, realizing Kansas ground control could remotely control the colony's systems during failures, making legacy systems a key focus in countering the sabotage. In Chapter 40, the lunar crew focuses on identifying and neutralizing a sabotage threat to the base's power systems. Air Force studies and Project Forecast are referenced to contextualize broader strategic concerns, but Nicole and Eugene concentrate on the immediate technical problem. During a meeting with engineers, Nicole confirms that portions of the early external thermal control system, EETCs, can be repurposed to patch the colony's electrical loops. Over Sunday, the team plans to safely decouple legacy systems. On Monday, Mavis Davis discovers a legacy remote power control module, RPCM, containing a radio wired into the electrical power system, EPS, potentially linked to Icarus or the missing Busy Bee. Nicole coordinates with Eugene, Halim, and the engineering team to devise a plan to safely remove the device during a scheduled 16-minute blackout. Emergency procedures are established, and non-essential personnel are prepared for evacuation. The operation proceeds with precision. The team removes the radio, implements a dummy load, and retreats to the airlock as the lights remain off at the 16-minute mark. In Chapter 41, Earth First publicly claims the responsibility for Governor Wargin's assassination, citing their opposition to the U.S. space program and framing it as a response to neglect of the planet's recovery after the meteor strike. Meanwhile, on the Moon, the colony faces ongoing sabotage challenges. Nicole coordinates with Eugene and Mavis Davis to investigate power failures caused by a radio wired into the Remote Power Control Module, RPCM, which could allow Earth First to manipulate colony systems remotely. They plan to interrogate key personnel, Frisch, Birgit, and Kurt, while controlling the timing of blackouts to maintain leverage. Nicole confirms with Frisch that Vicky Shu provided him with a book containing a hidden letter, clarifying his role and reducing suspicion that he is Icarus. As Nicole prepares to question the remaining suspects, Eugene reports that an explosion occurred at the Garden outpost, and all satellites are unresponsive, indicating a potential new escalation by the saboteurs. Contingency measures for managing the colony during power disruptions are put in place. In Chapter 42, Artemis Base remains without contact with Earth for over 7 hours, severely limiting communications and situational awareness. Eugene Lindholm oversees operations from Lunar Ground Control, coordinating Busy Bee missions and monitoring power and satellite systems. Nicole assists, providing historical insight into legacy installations, while engineers work methodically to troubleshoot multiple system failures. Myrtle conducts a reconnaissance flyover of the suspected explosion site, confirming visibility limitations due to darkness. Nicole retrieves sandwiches for the team, emphasizing maintaining morale during the crisis. During debriefing, it's revealed that Birgit First delivered the Long Tomorrow to Vicky, linking her presence to critical events. Satellite telemetry from the Garden shows power intact but communications offline during the initial blackout window, aligning with flashes, Myrtle observed. Logs confirm Birgit arrived alone at the Garden, indicating she may have piloted a Busy Bee herself. Given the 14-hour loss of contact with Earth, Eugene authorizes immediate questioning of Birgit to clarify her involvement in sabotage and Busy Bee operations. In Chapter 43, communication with the Garden and Marius Hills is restored via Busy Bee, and a reconnaissance flight to the South Pole outpost is dispatched. Nicole prepares the geology lab for interrogation, and Halim escorts Birgit First, who walks in with a makeshift leg brace and crutches. Nicole questions Birgit about her wartime work at a Swiss munitions plant, verifying that she only swept floors and was underage, dismissing any link to sabotage. The conversation shifts to the Long Tomorrow book and the letter it contained. Birgit admits she found the letter, attempted to decode it, and gave it to Vicky, claiming no malicious intent. Nicole investigates the timing of Birgit's presence at the Garden, noting her late arrival, short stay, and lack of a log pilot. Birgit reveals Curtis Fry piloted the Busy Bee for her, denying involvement in power outages, communication loss, or sabotage, and insists the cipher in her handwriting was copied, not cracked, highlighting that she is not collaborating with any external agents. In Chapter 44, Artemis Base remains without contact with Earth due to non-functional satellites and radio dishes, with backup LGS offline from aerosine corrosion. Comms attempt to scan for signals from any Earth source, but low SNR prevents isolation. Birgit is secured in a lockable office under guard after her interrogation. Nicole and Halim focus on questioning Curtis Fry about his Air Force background, work at the Garden, and potential involvement in sabotage. Kurt claims he only flew one combat mission in Korea, then worked reconnaissance and test pilot duties before joining IAC. Regarding the Garden, he denies being there for the time frame in question, but admits seeing Birgit and giving her simulator time before she fell ill. Kurt emphasizes he has no involvement in power outages, communication loss, or Earth First activities. He speculates on potential misuse of Busy Bees as weaponized cargo, noting how bombs could be deployed via rockets or lava tubes, but asserts he had no connection to any sabotage. In Chapter 45, Artemis Base remains without contact with Earth after 17 hours and 36 minutes. Engineering is tasked with creating a system to flash Morse code messages to Earth using exterior lights, though visibility will be limited. Eugene and Myrtle discuss the possibility that Birgit or Kurt may have attempted sabotage with the Busy Bee, but were interrupted by polio. Halim confirms Birgit was encouraged to apply for astronaut training for her comm skills, which aligns with prior accounts. Nicole reviews the moonscape and reflects on past missions while organizing tasks. The team is advised to rest, but Nicole continues analyzing Birgit's code, planning to involve the computer department using distributed decoding methods. Eugene and Halim deconflict duty rosters to maintain colony operations despite the communication blackout. Halim briefs pilots on navigation adjustments for outposts and the South Pole, requiring pilots, co-pilots, and navcomp for all flights. Plans for a free return transit to Earth are prepared if communications are not restored within a week. In Chapter 46, Artemis Base remains without contact with Earth for 4 days, though the South Pole outpost reports normal operations. Shuttle flights continue to the Garden, Marius Hills, and the South Pole. Plans are made to establish visual flight paths to improve navigation without satellites. Helen decodes a critical letter revealing a potential Busy Bee launch plan that could crash into the main dome, though the timing occurred after Kurt and Birgit contracted polio, making the launch uncertain. The document also includes a second set of coordinates near the Garden, corresponding to a previously uninvestigated potential drop site. Additionally, it contains information intended as blackmail against Florina Morales, suggesting potential exploitation of off-schedule suit use. Nicole verifies that no one on the Icarus list was contacted, confirming Birgit's and Kurt's statements. Eugene notes that Kansas is dark, indicating possible sabotage or power loss, leaving Earth-based communications and monitoring compromised. Preparations are made to investigate Busy Bee locations and potential hazards. In Chapter 47, Artemis Base remains without IAC contact for 4 days. Eugene and Nicole focus on preparing the colony for self-sufficiency, accelerating work at the Garden, and monitoring for potential hazards, including the Busy Bee. Reconnaissance of Marius Hills finds footprints indicating 2 people, possibly Kurt and Birgit, but no evidence of a Busy Bee launch, leaving its location uncertain. Emmett and Imanol are involved in a conflict over plant rotation in Central Park, highlighting operational stress under the ongoing communication blackout. Nicole intervenes, clarifies misunderstandings, and ensures accountability, while also discovering a plastic envelope in the park containing encoded documents. The papers reveal that Kurt is Icarus and that he coordinated with Birgit and an unknown ground contact to manipulate coded messages. The envelope also contains a letter from Kenneth, further connecting past events to current operations. The chapter emphasizes the ongoing investigation into sabotage, colony management, and the growing realization of Icarus's involvement. In Chapter 48, Nicole discovers 2 letters from Kenneth, stolen earlier by Kurt, containing coded messages revealing critical information, a government-backed Earth First plot, and references to a potential threat involving the lunar colony. Shocked and enraged, Nicole secures the letters while navigating through the colony to admin mod with Eugene, maintaining control of her emotions to avoid escalating the situation. She reviews the letters with Eugene, confirming the severity of the threat and planning her approach to interrogate Kurt. Eugene provides guidance, emphasizing safety and structured questioning. Meanwhile, Helen reports that the coordinates from the coded message point to the Artemis 17 landing site, where parallel ski tracks intersected with rover paths. Logs show Philippus Fori was at the Garden unscheduled, suggesting he may be Kurt's co-conspirator. The chapter establishes that the colony faces multiple threats: a potentially armed Busy Bee, explosives, a jetpack, and an active saboteur, setting up Nicole's imminent confrontation with Kurt. In Chapter 49, Nicole prepares to interrogate Curtis Fry under Eugene's supervision after Philippus Fori is apprehended. Eugene frisks Nicole and established strict rules. She is to maintain control, use no weapons, and follow her scripted questions with a single rage phrase allowed. Nicole confronts Kurt, revealing she found Kenneth's letters, using them to pressure him. She improvises a makeshift club from a chair leg, but maintains restraint, establishing dominance while keeping Eugene outside the door for oversight. Kurt admits he did not booby-trap the Busy Bee, explaining that polio disrupted his original plan. He confesses to multiple acts of sabotage, swapping CO2 scrubber filters, sabotaging dehumidifiers, contaminating fuel, disabling smoke detectors, and creating electrical shorts. He claims his intent was initially to force the IAC to abandon the moon with minimal casualties. Kurt also wired Marius Hills and the main colony for potential remote detonation if Earth refused withdrawal, making clear the stakes for the Artemis base. In Chapter 50, Nicole prepares to act on the information gained from Kurt about the Busy Bee and other sabotage. Kurt confirms Philippus Fori's role was limited to retrieving skis, and the jetpack in the lava tube contains explosives. Nicole clarifies that Kurt improvised much of his sabotage after contracting polio, though Birgit's involvement in code translation and coercion was real, but not fully intentional. She coordinates with Eugene and Halim to plan safe deactivation of the Busy Bee, deferring action to Mavis's specialized team. Nicole asserts the need to check all old landing sites using knowledge of past landers before risking additional exposure. She and Halim discuss splitting into teams to approach sites efficiently, but Myrtle intervenes, refusing to let them go out alone due to safety and political risk. The chapter emphasizes preparation, teamwork, and risk mitigation as Nicole balances urgency with caution while managing the colony's security and her own emotional strain. In Chapter 51, Nicole and Myrtle conduct a lunar EVA to inspect landing sites for sabotage, focusing on the Busy Bee 2 and associated high-gain antennae. All suits are checked, rated for 8 hours, and mission parameters limit surface time to 4 hours per site, with walkback capped at 14 hours. They assess the Artemis 14 lander, verifying the antenna's presence and noting prior activity. To aid mobility, Nicole uses thawed fecal containment bags to provide grip on ladder rungs, allowing safe access to the lander's compartments. Myrtle supervises and maintains mission control, while Nicole handles the detailed inspection. They verify that Kurt had not visited this site, confirming earlier suspicions. During the EVA, Nicole initiates an attempt to establish radio contact with Earth via old tracking stations, successfully reaching Capcom in Brazil, re-establishing communication with the colony. The mission progresses safely, and they prepare to continue inspections while coordinating with Earth, maintaining operational security, and verifying sabotage-related locations. In Chapter 52, Artemis Base reestablishes communication with Earth after weeks of silence caused by Earth-first sabotage. Nicole Wargin and Myrtle Lindholm navigate Busy Bee. 2 above the moon to restore radio contact, successfully reaching Capcom in Brazil and confirming the safety of the lunar colony. Eugene supervises the operations and directs Nicole and Myrtle during the recontact process. Once back at the base, Nicole observes the colony's personnel, distributes tasks, and ensures engineers and astronauts manage the remaining maintenance and cleanup. During the full debrief, Myrtle reports that Earth-first infiltrators within the IAC disabled satellites, the Kansas City power grid, and fuel storage facilities, causing 14 deaths with 63 unaccounted for. Plans for Earth-Moon operations are adjusted accordingly. Nicole is cleared for a future trans-Earth flight, and Eugene offers her the co-pilot role with Halim commanding and Helen as nav comp. Preparations and checklists are followed meticulously, culminating in the successful liftoff of the trans-Earth shuttle for the return to Earth. Epilogue: Major Eugene Lindholm, former IAC administrator, addresses the United Nations from Artemis Base as the first elected mayor of the lunar colony, highlighting the moon as a self-governing and independent outpost. Nicole Wargin hosts a formal reception in Kansas City to welcome the returning first Mars expedition. During the event, she facilitates a reunion between Nathaniel York and his wife, Elma, while managing diplomatic interactions with senators and dignitaries. She reflects on the achievements and losses from the lunar and Mars missions, ensuring that heroes are honored and the astronauts' contributions acknowledged. Meanwhile, private moments allow Nicole to decompress from public duties. She reconnects with her cats, Maggie and Marlowe, and reflects on her late husband, Kenneth. The epilogue closes with her settling into a quieter personal space, taking stock of her dual responsibilities as both a public leader and caretaker of the lunar colony's ongoing mission while maintaining a connection to home and personal life.